Hey everybody, the holiday season is upon us, so right now we are talking about the PlayStation Classic that just released. I know we're like probably the last YouTube channel to put out an opinion on this, but we wanted to take our time. So this thing is definitely riding the wave of the success of the NES and SNES Classic, which we certainly didn't mind, and this is definitely cashing in on nostalgia straight up. This is a lot of people's first introduction to games. It was my introduction to 3D gaming. So there's a lot of memories and a lot of history in this PlayStation Classic. But it's, we're going to go ahead and say we don't think it's worth your money. We'll get into the reasons why, but for most types of gamers, especially particular ones, it's a little bit disappointing. But there's a lot to say about this little thing, so let's get into evaluation mode. So here's the deal. It's $100 in the United States, and it does come with 2 controllers, which I really appreciate. The whole device itself, though, is small and nicely designed enough, I guess. It's a tiny little PlayStation. It's actually way smaller than we expected. It doesn't have much else going on, and we didn't really expect it to. The disc drive doesn't pop open, but at the very least, the eject open button does act as changing the disc when you're in a game that calls for it, which is kind of neat. It's powered via micro USB, and it has one HDMI port, and the controllers are USB, but they're designed to look like the original proprietary inputs, which, again, I really appreciate. I will say, just like the NES Classic, the controller cable could be a bit longer. Living rooms of the 21st century have changed, and we're not sitting on the floor looking up at a CRTV anymore. But I don't know, that's a minor complaint next to what else I'll get to. Otherwise, the controller just feels like a nice little history lesson. The controller was not perfect back when it was released, but now in 2018, it feels pretty nice in hand and lighter, and with a bit more of a matte texture than you might remember. The feel is almost there, but not quite. Really, it ain't bad though. They definitely paid attention when they made it, especially down to little things like how the select and start button have that rubbery feel and you never quite know if you're pushing it hard enough. That's there. Now, the real elephant in the room is the games. The machine has a nice lineup of games, but it nowhere near does justice to the PS1's great original lineup of like action-adventure games, exclusives, JRPGs. There are some hints of greatness here and there. I mean, like you get Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil, but missing Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider, and Tony Hawk, and lots of other JRPGs just feels like glaring omissions. Of course, in reality, it's because of like licensing issues that we can't have all these games under one roof, so it was almost like fighting a losing battle from the start. But it is a nice trip down memory lane. I mean, seeing the difference in quality between something like Cool Borders 2 and Metal Gear Solid makes you appreciate how ahead of its time that game really was. The original Oddworld still sort of holds up. It's nice they got Grand Theft Auto on there, and Wild Arms and Final Fantasy VII are worth checking out if you've never played them before, and especially if you like JRPGs. There is, honestly, a lot of gameplay value here, despite its obvious shortcomings. What is a bit less forgivable, though, is the quality of the emulation. The PS Classic is running a typical emulation seen in certain corners of the internet, but the quality just isn't up to par. The console opted to use the 50Hz version of games as opposed to 60Hz, and it seems like a really odd choice because the quality and the playability of the games just suffers a lot. Games are slower and framier and less responsive than you remember. Really, unlike other devices, this device is actually a worse place to play the original games on. You get the convenience factor of onboard storage and digital memory cards and save states, but the games just don't run, look, or sound well at all. If you are the discerning gamer with a decent eye or a stickler for detail, even just somewhat, you will probably be let down kinda here. And despite the convenience of some features, there is no extra stuff like added scan lines or frame options at all or anything. The package is just extremely bare bones. Now, more cleverer folks have been able to get into this thing already, though, and every day the situation is changing. Turns out plugging in certain keyboards allows you to access BIOS functions, which is nice, I guess, if you want to avoid a warranty, but in paying for supposed convenience, you shouldn't have to do that to make the product better, you know? It's really up to you, though. Like I said, the design-wise and some of the games included does show some charm here, little bits that we really appreciate to PlayStation's history, not to mention on the United States packaging on the box on the back. It actually includes the screenshot of Meryl's codec number that you need on the back of the game case from the original Metal Gear Solid, but that's a super, super deep cut. It's a simple device, really. It's nice that it comes with 2 controllers, and there is some fun to be had, especially with someone showing a relative the games you grew up on, or just having some fun by yourself catching up on Final Fantasy VII because you never played it before, does just make it feel worth it. Just be warned, though, it's far from a perfect experience. Now, there's one thing I definitely want to stress in this video. I know a lot of people in the comments are saying like, hey, you could just download an emulator or make a Raspberry Pi. Yes, we absolutely, totally agree. Maybe this is just for casual fans. Maybe you buy this for your parents for Christmas or whatever. But I would say don't even consider that, because I want to use this little platform that we have here to just say support your local game store. The mom and pop stores are designed for stuff like this. If you don't have a mom and pop game store near you,
if you don't have a mom and a dad, sorry.
You know, as opposed to like your Target or your Best Buy or your GameStop, there are smaller stores out there that are designed to just sell great stuff like this at a great deal, and honestly meet some cool people. And I think that is your best bet if you don't want to deal with either hacking this thing and voiding the warranty or downloading and pirating software. You can go and still buy the things and use them exactly as God intended, and with a little bit of work you can get it running on a regular HD TV.
You get it running on HGTV?
HGTV? There are still tons of these stores everywhere, thousands across America, and they could honestly probably use your support. I mean, right here in the New York tri-state area, like our favorites are Video Games New York, there's Poppin' Games in Queens, and there's East End Gaming out on Long Island that we go to. And if there isn't one near you or worth a special long trip, find somebody on eBay, find a good seller that you like, and develop a relationship with them. That's just my advice. I'm not trying to dunk on the people that do buy this and will enjoy this. I honestly am debating getting one for my mom for Christmas, but if you're a little bit more particular, there's nothing that really beats the real thing. But I do want to know what you guys are thinking about this whole PlayStation Classic thing down in the comments. Let's talk there. Let's talk about like what games do you wish were on this thing, because obviously there are so many omissions to the tech behind it. Did you open this thing up? It's pretty easy apparently. What have you gotten into? Let's talk about anything PlayStation like that, your favorite classic memories down in the comments. But if you have any more questions for me about anything dropping this holiday season, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Jake Baldino. But if you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a thing or two from us, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. We do really appreciate it. And of course, if you're new, you should subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we put out new videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.